Hey everybody, how's it going? Here's my newly rebuilt transmission. I picked it up a couple days ago, but it's got a more efficient torque converter, kind of like the one they use on the police cars. It's had the shift improvement kit put in it with the improved calibration. Basically, this is about as bulletproof as they can make this transmission. And my local transmission builder did a great job. He's the only one I ever go to. This makes like the third or fourth one over the years I've had them do. They even take the time to clean it up on the outside and repaint everything, so it doesn't get much better than that. I'm in the process today of trying to get the engine bay cleaned up, which will probably take a few hours. I was just going to kind of give you a before and after shot, because as soon as I put the camera down, I'm going to start cleaning. I'm just going to try and do it with spray degreaser, rags, shop vac, whatever I can, because I didn't really want to take the thing down off the blocks, push it down out of the garage to hose it down, then I have to push it back up that incline back in the garage. Even with help, it's difficult. Not to mention the fact that I've got all kinds of wiring harnesses and stuff that are unplugged from the firewall, and I'd hate to get water or anything down in those. So I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way with rags and cleaner and stuff and get that done. And when I get everything cleaned up, I'm going to be mating the rebuilt transmission to the engine I got off of eBay. Try and get that done today as well, because tomorrow my uncle's coming over and we're going to try to drop this puppy down in there. I can hardly wait to be able to get this thing back operational again and get it cleared out of the garage, and hopefully, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, get back to this. So with that, I'll let you guys go, and I'll bring you back when I've got some progress to show you. Take care. I'm back. About 6 hours worth of scrubbing with rags, degreaser, you name it, I've tried it. That's the only bad thing about the base coat clear coat system that I've found, is that in the engine bay they usually don't do the clear coat, just the base coat. And even the cleaner that I was using started taking the paint off about the time it started taking the grease off. But the K-member, surprisingly enough, which was the greasiest part of it, looks like it's got clear coat on it, because none of the paint came off while I was scrubbing it to get it clean. A lot of little nooks and crannies and stuff where all that oil and grit and everything was hiding. I got everything pretty well cleaned off, at least as good as I can get it. Had an issue over here where the battery goes. One of the bolts snapped off. I got it all cleaned up, and then got to looking, and the paint was blistering up. So I took some of the rust converter, the OSPO, after I scraped everything down, and painted that real liberally in there. Got that basically converted. Once that's dry in the morning, I'll prime it and put some probably some red spray paint, since I don't have any red base coat on this, just to get it back the same color. Most of this isn't seen because it sits underneath the fuse box, and the battery tray and everything goes back in there, so you see very little of that, so it doesn't matter if it matches or not. Again, you know, I started cleaning that off, and it took most of the base coat off with it, but that doesn't really matter. I mean, it's protected well enough inside the engine bay. But I got everything cleaned off. I got the engine up off of the pallet it was sitting on, and went around and cleaned all it up and detailed it. Tried to get some paint on it. I don't know why, or if they do put any, it's evidently not a whole lot of paint on the engine block, because these things rust. The one I took out was rusty, this one was rusty. So I cleaned all that up and painted it with some black engine paint, painted the aluminum oil pan, because it was terrible looking. All black and kind of icky, with some aluminum engine paint. Same thing with the water pump. It had all that white corrosion looking stuff on it. So it may not make it run any better, but at least if I've got any oil leaks, I'll be able to tell, because everything is clean. So I'll bring you guys back when I get everything mated up. See you later. it's almost a car again. I've got the engine in, all the accessories bolted back on the front of the engine. I've still got to remount the battery tray, put the battery in it, antifreeze, motor oil, transmission fluid, and the cross brace that goes underneath the front suspension, and we'll be ready for a cold start. Hopefully that'll be in the next little while here. It's taking a little bit longer than I thought it would because I've been trying to clean and repaint everything else as I was getting it put together. A couple of odds and ends here and there just had to figure out. The most difficult thing to get to was the O2 sensor, which is down in behind this, which is the heater hoses. I'm not even sure if a flashlight's going to help you see where this is at. But it's basically on the back of the engine block down here between the firewall and everything else, trying to get everything hooked back up. You might be able to see it. Well, anyway, take my word for it. My big meat hooks do not fit in there very well at all. But I got it hooked up finally. All the other wiring and stuff's reconnected. I put new battery cable ends on it because they were getting pretty toasty. New air filter, new oil filter. Still got to put the engine oil stuff in it. I got a box of stuff here. I also got to do the rear brakes. But 12 quarts of transmission fluid, a gallon of antifreeze, 5 quarts of motor oil filter, 2 quarts of brake fluid, 200 something bucks. They should call that stuff liquid gold instead of motor oil or anything to do with cars anymore. So, but anyway, I just want to give you guys an update. I'll probably wait to put this video up here in a little while. I'll get everything finished up and we'll try and do a cold start and see if this thing's going to run or if I stick a piece of dynamite under it. I'll see you guys in a little while. See ya. Okay, the time is at hand. I put the engine oil in it and we're in the safe zone. 5 quarts. I filled the radiator up with antifreeze up to the cold mark, and the radiator is full. I'll probably have to add some more as the heater core and stuff fills up though, so I'm leaving the radiator cap loose. Here's a good tip for everybody. Read your manual before you start adding fluids. It said on the capacities on this thing it takes like 13.9 quarts. Well, I should have read the tune-up part of this, which I'm not sure if you can see this, but it says basically after you've changed the fluid, which doesn't include draining the torque converter, put 4 quarts in it, then start the engine. Well, guess what Ding Dong here did? I was on like quart number 12, and I heard something running underneath the car, and I lost about a half a quart of transmission fluid because it was running out the overflow on the transmission. So learn from my mistake and read your manual before you start adding the fluids, because I thought, well, if this thing holds almost 14, I'll get the 12 that I've got in it, start the car and let it cycle through and fill the torque converter stuff up, and then before I drive it I'll go get 2 more quarts tomorrow. I should have read the manual and seen it said put 4 quarts in it and go from there. So I guess you live and you learn, right? Luckily I caught it before I put the other quart in there and dumped it all out on the floor. I don't think it'll hurt anything because, like I said, it's got an overflow on it, and everything just overflowed out the side of it. But anyway, just now put the battery on it and got the burglar alarm turned off. Like as soon as I turned it on, that tried to activate, so I got that shut off. I'm still going to have to cycle a key a few times to get the fuel pressure built up. I'm going to do that, and then I'll bring you guys back for the initial start up. I'm not going to try and start it before I bring you guys back, but I'm going to go ahead and prime it because it won't do any good to try and start it till the fuel pump pushes fuel up here to it. So I'll bring you guys back here in just a minute. Stand by. Okay guys, time to see if it flies or fries. Oh, slow SRT, here's to you, buddy. Well, let's kick this pig and see what happens. I already primed it a couple of times and made sure I had fuel pressure out there. It's in park. I've got the emergency brake on, and let's see what we got. Come on baby, do it for me. And of course the battery's acting like it's dead. That was the last thing I knew I had to replace, and I've got it on the charger now. Okay, let me bring you guys back here in a minute. Let me charge the battery up. Alright, take 2. I got it on boost now. Let's see what we got. We have life! It lives! It's running kind of rough, I'm sure, because the ECM and everything's got to do its thing. And of course, where I got penetrating oil and stuff all over the exhaust manifold, it's going to stink like everything for a few minutes. Okay, it's starting to smooth out a little bit. Yeah, burning off all that penetrating oil. Looks like a Cheech and Chong movie. Woohoo! Look underneath here, make sure I got nothing blowed up. Well, I don't see anything puking out anywhere, so that's a good sign. They sit here and idle for a minute, so it burns all this stink off of it. I guess I can turn the battery charger off now. Let it build up on its own. Yeah, I put all that penetrating oil on those exhaust manifold bolts and everything, and boy, they're really stinking now. Of course, it's probably some of the transmission fluid and stuff I cooked off of there too, so keep a real close eye on it. And of course, I've got my fire extinguisher handy just in case. You never can be too safe. Man, that stinks. Hope that'll burn off here in a minute. That looks like oil or something that's on this fire wrap that's around this EGR tube where it goes back down into the exhaust. And I didn't really spray anything on that stuff. All I did was take a piece of copper wire and wrap around it to try and pull that stuff back up tight. So I'm not sure why this stuff's stinking so bad right here. And that's where it's coming from. I guess they got engine oil or something on it when they took it out of the car that they got it out of in the junkyard. So hopefully that'll burn off here in a few minutes. But the idle pulley and everything sounds real good. Let's check the fluid level here. Okay, looks like I can add some more to it. I'll check the fluid stuff and I'll bring you guys back here in just a minute. Well, it's about burned all the contaminants off of the exhaust manifolds and the engine and stuff, and it sounds really good. It's been running about 10 minutes since the last video. I'm going to start checking the transmission fluid and everything here in just a minute. I've been keeping a real close eye on the temperature, and so far it's doing real well. The oil pressure is good. It shows the alternator's trying to charge the battery, but yet the battery light's on, so that's a dead giveaway. The battery's shot. Water temp is slowly coming up. Of course, it's about out of gas, so I can't run it for very long. But when I got the transmission from my rebuilder, he said that these, I think it's a R470, and about all the Ford transmissions are real prone to chattering after 75,000 to 100,000 miles. So he gave me a tube of this stuff and told me to put it in there when I put the transmission fluid in. And he said that's got the conditioners and stuff in it that should help it prevent doing that. So there's a tip for you Ford guys, particularly with AODs and the R470s. I think I'm saying that right. Add that stuff to it when you do your filter change, and it'll definitely help if you're having a hesitation or shutter problems. But man, this thing's smooth dried out. I've still got to pull a vacuum on the AC system and charge it up. I'll do that sometime tomorrow. I've still got to cycle the transmission through all the gears, and I'm kind of hesitant to do that right now because I've still got it setting up on the blocks, and I'd hate for that thing to jump suddenly and come off of them, but I've still got to put that X-brace underneath the suspension and bolt it back up before I set the car down, but I wanted to see if this thing was going to run. It sounds pretty good. Oh, sorry, fogged the camera up. And I've got the brace out here. It's all cleaned up and repainted. And I'll try and get that thing bolted back on tomorrow. I guess this has kind of helped to stiffen it, since it is a unibody car and then it being a convertible too. But it goes from like behind the passenger wheel and the driver's wheel all the way up to the cross member underneath the engine. It bolts up there with 2 bolts on each side. and there's 3 or 4 on this side, so I guess it really helps stiffen the front end of the car up, and I want to put that back on there before I set the thing back down on the ground, because I cannot get my jolly old self up underneath this thing when it's down on the ground. So, but yeah, everything's doing good. The engine sounds good. There's smooth. There's no knocks, no pecks. The belt's running good. I mean, it sounds wonderful. So I guess I'll be replacing the battery and fixing the AC system, and then cycling through the gears, and hopefully add the last 4.5 or 2 quarts of transmission fluid